Broadcasting live from our studio in Boston, Solutions Review is proud to showcase Infragistics in the Solution Spotlight, a unique online event for industry professionals.
I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review, and welcome to the Solution Spotlight featuring Infragistics and focused on how to accelerate digital transformation with low-code and embedded BI. It's always a pleasure when we get to shine our spotlight on a solution builder, and today we have a great one. Infragistics provides the world's largest enterprises with tools and solutions to accelerate application design and development and foster team collaboration. Next up, you'll get to see a demo that will show you how to create end-to-end solutions with polished UX, interactions, theming, data binding, self-service dashboards, and BI in minutes versus weeks or months of hand coding. And there is no one better to walk you through this presentation than Jason Barris, Senior Vice President of Developer Tools at Infragistics. Jason, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Doug. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so we've had you on before and a couple of times actually, and I know you and your team are spearheading all the innovation functionality at Infragistics. But before we get going, can you just give some of the folks who might not be familiar with you a little bit more about your background?
Sure. My name is Jason Barris. I've been with Infragistics for 20 years now, and my whole life has been in the software development space. So starting way back with Visual Basic in the late 80s, early 90s, all the way through to the modern tooling that we have today. So I have a immense familiarity with software development and how to accelerate software development for product teams. And that's really my focus, is how Infragistics can build tools that help you deliver better experiences to your customers, and not just better, but amazing experiences, beautiful experiences, faster than ever. And that's hopefully what we'll look at today.
Yeah, so we've got the double whammy. We've got someone who is a builder who is building tools for you to be a builder. And if you have any questions, just to set expectations, by all means, submit them. We'll hang on to them while Jason works his way through his presentation and demo, and we'll bring those in at the end. Jason, I'm going to turn it over to you. I know you've got a lot to cover, and when you're all wrapping up, just give me a heads up and I'll pop back in and we'll do a little Q&A.
Great. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, so I have my screen shared already, and I'm really excited to share a lot of information today. And hopefully by the end of the presentation and the demos, you'll be inspired on what you can actually do with hardly writing any code. Or today, we're not going to write any code. We're going to do a lot of drag and drop. I'm going to show you some code because, of course, there's still coding involved. But we are doing a lot to really help you accelerate this application delivery at Infragistics. So again, my name is Jason Barris. I'm a Senior VP here at Infragistics. We're going to look at two tools today: Reveal, which is our embedded BI product, and App Builder, which is a low-code tool. It started out as like a screen builder a couple years ago, and we're just incrementally adding capabilities and features that allow you to, or remove the need for you to write code. And that's our goal, is the less code that you have to write, that mundane, boring code, repetitive stuff that is error prone, you can deliver applications faster. And that's the goal of tools like App Builder. And you'll see today, Reveal, we're simplifying the way that you can really deliver an embedded BI experience to your customers. And in my 20 years working at Infragistics, and even prior to that, when I speak with managers, CTOs, team leads, they don't like it when development teams are just writing code over and over again, the same type of code, maybe for a different project. And they're always asking, how can we accelerate this? How can tooling help us, but also give us a competitive edge, give us high quality, and give us a beautiful user experience? And really, that's what we are all about at Infragistics. So a little corporate overview: Infragistics is in its now 34th year. We're a gold certified partner. If you're, in the development space, you've probably used an Infragistics product over the years. And many of the folks that, started using our products back in the 90s are CTOs and managers and running companies now. which is pretty cool to see. So we're used all over the place in a variety of types of applications, everything from financial services, banking, to healthcare, to government. It runs the gamut. Our customer size is, one developer shops all the way up to companies with tens of thousands of developers. So there's a long history here of us trying to really create that simplicity, beauty, and happiness in the world, one app at a time. And you can see some of the timelines here near the end where we look at like 2019, 2021, actually 2018 through 2023 now, but 2021 is our releases for official release for App Builder. Reveal was released a couple years before that, but App Builder grew out of a product that we released in 2018 called Indigo Design, which grew out of a product that we released in 2012 called Indigo Studio. So it has a long history of capability and delivering different types of user experience to the customers that have used that product. And then if you look at 2016, we shipped a product called Report Plus, which morphed into Reveal that we eventually shipped in 2019. Report Plus was really focused on the iOS, iPad OS, and we re-architected how that backend works. So now Reveal will work on any platform, and it's an SDK versus an application. We have other amazing products too. We have a new product that we just recently shipped called Slingshot, which is a digital workplace. And the cool thing about Slingshot is it allows you to do self-service BI. And of course, it uses Reveal as its BI engine. So check that out if you have a chance. Our locations, we are global. I'm based in the US, in Michigan. Our headquarters is in New Jersey. I used to be based in New Jersey. I moved to Michigan post-COVID. But if you're in Europe, if you're in APAC, if you're in Eastern, Western Europe, South America, India, we have people on the ground that can help you either in a sales, a pre-sales, a technical perspective. We have 24/5 technical support. So really, wherever you are, we are too, and that's our goal. And a lot of companies now are completely global. You have developers all over the place. You have offices all over the place. And that's really what we're trying to do with our support. So today's product focus, as I mentioned, Reveal and App Builder. I have a slide each on one of these. When you think about Reveal, and you're going to see this in my demo, it really is about self-service BI, but in an SDK. And that's the unique aspect of Reveal that you don't see anywhere else in the market. So you might be thinking, okay, are you trying to compete with Tableau? Absolutely not. Are we trying to compete with Power BI? Absolutely not. Those are amazing tools, full functionality, but Tableau is it's a desktop web app. You're kind of using it as a standalone application where you're building dashboards. You're not embedding that experience into maybe the applications that you deliver to your customers. And that's really where Reveal shines. Power BI is the same way. Though Power BI does have the ability to have some sort of embedding, it's an iframe, and customers don't want iframes. Iframes are like a 1990 technology. So when you think about an embedded SDK, it's really taking this amazing self-service experience and making it a first-class citizen in your application. And the way that we've built Reveal is a JavaScript library for the client, so it can work in any platform, be it web components, Blazor, Angular, React, doesn't really matter, Vue. And we have a server piece, which can run in a Node.js server, a .NET Core server, or a Java server. So we have 3 flavors of server there that you can choose to use. And we also have a desktop component as well. If you're not using web and maybe you're using WPF or Windows Forms, you can do that as well. When you see today's demo, you'll really be surprised, I think, at how easy it is to embed this into your own applications and then the type of experience that you can give your users. It's pretty cool. And now App Builder, which is another product, it has a different license. Reveal is a product that you purchase per application, and App Builder is a per developer or per designer license. So if you have 10 developers, you buy 10 versions of App Builder or 10 copies of App Builder, but you get a lot of capability with that because App Builder is built on top of all of our rich UI components that have made Infragistics famous in the market for the last 30 plus years. So when you think about the fastest grids and charts on the planet, That's what we deliver, but that's what you're actually using to build applications in App Builder. So it's a really great low-code tool that allows you to really build out a beautiful user experience, removes all of the difficult code that developers really don't like to write themselves. So, when you look at a development team, there's always that one person who's the CSS expert or the HTML expert, and then everyone else is a developer building, C# or JavaScript or TypeScript. We remove that. Everyone becomes a CSS expert because we do all of that work for you, and that will come out in today's application. And I just noticed I have a coming soon Figma support earlier this year. So even if you're a designer and you want to take your Sketch and your Adobe XD, well, not XD anymore, but your Sketch and Figma files and put them into App Builder, you can do that as well. So it's an amazing tool, not only for a dev team, but for a design team as well. So let's get into a demo. I'm going to start with Reveal, and then we're going to incrementally move over to App Builder because you're going to see a lot today. And I just want to give you enough so that you know what your next steps will be after the presentation is over. If you want to get a deep dive, maybe in Reveal, or maybe a deep dive in App Builder. So let's go over to Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to start here with a simple index.html file. And as I said earlier, that Reveal is a client-side library and a server, right? The server runs in Node, ASP.NET Core, or Java, and your JavaScript library runs in whatever the heck you want. So there's a communication between the two, and this is how you do things like authentication, authorization, row-level security, like who's logged into my app. The server needs to know, I have to do queries, etc. But the idea is it makes it really easy for you to set this up because our JavaScript library is delivering a lot of capability. So in this case, I have my index.html, and you'll see that my Reveal JavaScript reference is included. So this is really the core of what we're doing here. This is on our global CDN. When you're deploying your applications, you can run this on your own servers. It doesn't really matter. And then I'm doing a few things here to present to the end user what options they have to build out dashboards for this particular application. And I'm also pointing to my local server. So in this case, I have a .NET Core server running. And if I look at my .NET Core server, you can see that it's running right here. We'll take a look at that in a minute. But what I want to do first is just right-click, view this in the browser so you get an idea of the experience that your end users will get. So this is the entry point for creating a new dashboard. So the whole purpose is a self-service BI tool. Now, if you don't want to do self-service BI, that's okay too. You can just create a bunch of dashboards and then deliver those in your application as templates that your users consume. So there's two ways our customers go about it. One of the interesting things is many customers start out with just delivering templates that are read-only, like a reporting section in an application to their end users. And then they realize, well, hey, we can modify our business model, charge a little bit more for self-service or editing, and they can create new revenue streams themselves. So that is an option for you. But in this case, I'm going to click plus visualization, and you'll see that I have these options, customer orders, etc., and a whole SQL Server database under my data store, and then I have my data items here. These all map to what you just saw here. So you saw customer orders with the title of customer orders, customer order history, customer order details, etc. That's the only information you need on the client. Everything else is going to happen on the server, and we're going to look at these IDs and determine how to get data for these particular items. So if I minimize this, and let's, for example, go to customer orders, and I'll select this guy, and now we're in the dashboard designer. So here, if I grab my customer ID, drag it over here, maybe let's do average freight by customer, like so. It's that easy to create a chart, just simple drag and drop. I can click on freight, and now I'm in my field settings. I'll change my aggregation to average, and you can see there's other things that you might want to change here as well. I can change this to a currency. I can change the decimal places, use large number formatting, show data labels, etc. These are essentially properties that your users or you have. Now, keeping in mind that this is an SDK, like this is a JavaScript library, right? You have that on the JavaScript in the client and a server library. Essentially, it's a NuGet package or an NPM package based on your technology. So everything that you see here is also available as an API. So let's say you want to always set the type to currency, or you always want to set the currency symbol to a specific currency symbol. You can do that in code as well. And that's the beauty. Complete control over the experience that you can give to your end users. So this ends up being something that's very powerful for your end users. Now, in this case, too, I'm going to change the title. Let's call this average freight, like so. And I don't need this legend anymore. So let me go over to legend, uncheck legend, and maybe I don't like blue. So let's go ahead and change the color to orange, like so. And I'll check the box. And now I'm off to creating a dashboard. Keep in mind, this is all in that client library. You did not write any code to create a dashboard. So now let's say I want to add another visualization to this dashboard. I'll go to my SQL Server. Now, this is, of course, optional. You don't have to show your SQL Server or your whatever data source. It could be Oracle, Snowflake. Doesn't really matter. We support about 30 data sources. You don't have to show it. It's up to you. In my code, I chose to show this. So everything is controlled by you on how it's presented to the user. So in this case, I go to my views. Let's scroll down. Maybe we'll take the orders query. I might want to preview this data here so you can see the orders query. This data looks good, something I might want to use. So I'll select this data. And now, again, I'm in the dashboard designer. So here, let me drag country, and I'll do orders by country. So it's a simple visualization for orders by country. And if I wanted to, I could even make this dashboard a little more interesting. Maybe ship via is a category. There's 3 different ship vias. Now I could also do a data join to go get that shipper name. We're not going to do that today. If you want to see how all that works, let's do a demo in another meeting. But this is how quick and easy it is to get going with an application. So I'll change this to orders by country, and that's it. Now I'll check the box, and I'll change the title of my dashboard. And this is going to be called Demo Review, like so. Click done. I'll click the checkbox, and this dashboard is created. So that's how easy it is to enable your users to do a self-service BI experience. We're going to talk more about charts and how they load a little bit later in App Builder, but this is that creation experience. Now, the other thing is cool is you'll notice as I'm hovering over the individual items here, these are the countries, I have a filter option. So let's go ahead and filter by Canada. And now my average freight is filtered by Canada. So now I can just see, hey, what was the freight for Canada in the database if I want to look at Ireland. So all of this interactive filtering is available too. Pretty darn slick on how this works. And, if you want to do something like maybe a little richer type of visualization, I can, instead of doing a plus visualization, I'll just duplicate this existing visualization. I'll go into edit mode again, and let's do something cooler like a tree map, which is a neat visualization. And the tree map is cool because you can build out these hierarchies. So let's say, for example, I want to look at country and city, and what all of the orders, how many orders are in those countries and cities, or how many freight or whatever it might be. So now I have a tree map, and here I automatically get the drill down and the drill up. All of this is built in to the tree. Check the box. There you go. So all told, there's about 30 or so data sources, maybe 35. There's about 30 or 35 different visualization types. One of the unique things about Reveal is that you can also bring your own visualizations. So a lot of our customers have domain-specific visualizations. They can add them right as a custom BI visualization, and it just flows right within the context of the dashboard. So it's pretty darn slick how this works. So on the server side, I want to show you just how that kind of works, because it's important to understand that there is a client and there is a server. So if you remember, on the client, I had those IDs, and I said, hey, based on that ID, I'm going to do something on the server. So in this case, there was an ID for 10 most expensive products. Well, if a user clicked that to do a visualization, what they're executing is actually a stored procedure called 10 most expensive products in my database. If they selected customer order history, they're executing a stored procedure, and we're doing some row level security here with a parameter, and that customer ID is allowed to see just their data. So I'm passing the customer ID parameter, and it kind of works that way. I could also do something like a query. So you can have a custom query. I could do a table. But the point here is that you have complete control over every aspect of data access and every aspect of user experience on the client. And the amount of code you have to write is just that. On the client, you saw maybe, 15 lines of code to enable that entire self-service experience. And then on the server, based on how many curated data items you want to give your user, you're just bringing up, you're actually adding the queries right here in code. So it's super easy, super slick, very easy to use. So that's sort of the core of Reveal. Now, next, I'm going to flip over to App Builder and show you that. And then we're going to combine Reveal and App Builder to give you an example of something really cool that you can build. So let's close this SQL Server instance. We don't need that, or that Visual Studio instance. We don't need that anymore. I'm going to minimize this guy, and let's go to here. Well, we'll just go right here. So here we are in App Builder. Now, App Builder is it's sort of like a WYSIWYG tool, like you might have had back in building Windows Forms apps or building Visual Basic apps, but it's for the web. And that's the secret sauce, is that anymore today on the web, it's very difficult to build responsive apps that are beautiful, that look good. It takes a lot of people, takes a lot of time, and it's very error prone. So with App Builder, we're removing all of that complexity so you don't have to think about it. So the way App Builder works is you have this sort of what I call a workbench. It's the entry point to the application. You have a few options when you are just starting out. You can start with one of our sample apps. If I click New Application, I can start with an empty design. So we scoured all of the potential options that you might have for what an application might look like. So like a left nav with a header plus overlay, header plus mini nav plus side pane. You could start here and just start from scratch, or you could import design. So you could literally drag in your sketch file and we will build the app. Same with Figma. We have plugins for Sketch and Figma as well. So your designer is in Figma. They can just go ahead and say, create a new app, and boom, it shows up in App Builder. But what I want to do is show how App Builder is different than every other low-code tool on the market. I'm going to select our inventory management sample here. And the reason this is so slick is because not only do we have a toolbox chock full of controls that cover basically every aspect of application development that you would ever need, but when you preview this, you'll see that we are generating code as well. So we generate production-ready, legit code. This isn't spaghetti code. There's no black box here. There's no funky things in here where, it's like the Infragistics framework that's doing weird stuff that you have to learn. This is just straight up production-ready code that will pass the sniff test of pretty much anyone. And in this case, you'll notice that this is doing a web component code. So this is using a web components framework, works in every browser, etc. But let's say I wanted to do Angular and I wanted to generate Angular code. Boom, with the click of a button, I have Angular code. And let's say at the same time I want to do Blazor WebAssembly, or Blazor server, I'm generating Blazor code. So our differentiator is not only that you can do WYSIWYG, drag and drop all this great stuff, but you can also generate code. And what I did earlier is I downloaded, I think I downloaded this sample. Let's go over to here and let's look at inventory management. Oh, maybe I deleted it already. But in lieu of time, I'll run this sample later. But generating the code for a sample like this is literally going here and saying publish. So in this case, if I wanted to publish this to GitHub, I could. If I wanted to download a zip file, I could. And prior to that, I could change the framework. So it's that easy to get started with just generating code, and you can check it out for yourself. So like sign up for a trial, take one of the sample apps, generate the code, and then you decide if that code is good enough for you or your team. But let's take a look at some of the features here that we get in App Builder. So you notice on the left-hand side, I do have all of the pages that are in my application. Now, of course, this is building single page apps. So like Angular apps, React, Web Component, Blazor, etc., where you sort of have maybe a master view and all these other views or components that make up your application. So in this case, this is my master view, and this is my views container. On my master view, I have a menu on the left, and then based on what gets selected, things are loading up here on the right. There's a few pages here that are part of this sample. So I have some card controls, a pie chart, a category chart. Based on what I'm selecting, you'll notice that the properties are changing on the right-hand side. So what we're doing here is just like if you're a designer, you'd see in Figma or Sketch. If you're a developer, you'd see in Visual Studio, is you have a property editor, and that's how you control what's happening with your individual components that you're laying out on a screen. Also on the left-hand side here is sort of a DOM layout. So you can see how everything is constructed in the layout, and you can select items, the property editor, it's reflected in the property editor and on the page and what's selected. So if I click through here, you can see some of these different screens that were created in this sample. This guy here is a card control. It's data bound to a table called products. I'm going to show you how data binding works as well. We got orders, which has a grid and a search box. Customers, it's saying, hey, this is a screen we didn't quite build yet. We're going to build that right now. And then reports. So very simple to sort of get acclimated with how this works and set properties on controls. The next option here is your toolbox. So you can see as I scroll, it's all of the UI components that you could imagine you would need to build out any type of enterprise app. These are all backed by our Ignite UI controls, Angular, Blazor, React, Web Components. They are, the fastest grids, all the features, and really what a lot of customers come to Infragistics for is our high-performance data grids, and those are included in this. As well, I have some data sources. I'm going to show you how that works as well. But this is what's cool, is theming. So you can see here in this particular app, there's a custom theme that's been created. Over here, it says custom. If I go back over to default themes and I just select some of these themes, you'll see that with the one click, I'm actually not only changing the look of the application in terms of color, but note the buttons and the font. So this button has a slightly rounded edge. Let me go to Fluent Dark. And now Fluent Dark is squared off and has different colors. So we're changing things like font, like elevation, like roundness with these themes. And maybe you like, for example, heading Roboto Bootstrap Dark, or just Roboto Bootstrap Dark here. Maybe you like this, but you want to change something. Let's go and duplicate this theme. It brings up the theme editor, and maybe I want to change the color. Instead of this shade, I want to go to maybe a lighter shade of blue, and I want to move the roundness to something rounder. And then I can save that. And that will apply out to my application, and you can see it updated instantly. So when we talk about theming, branding, your brand identity, super easy to customize how all of this works in App Builder. It's actually just clicks just like that. There's no secret here. And then finally, we have the ability, or you have the ability, to upload images that you might use in your application, which is pretty slick as well. So let's go ahead and see how easy it is to get something going here. I'm going to go to the customer screen, and I'm going to delete this placeholder. So let's right click and delete while my keyboard wakes up here. And what I want to do is just add a sort of a 3-section layout where I can show different areas of the page interacting with each other. So I can go ahead and pick a layout. I'm going to select this guy here, 2 rows, split bottom row like so. And I'm going to click done. Now I'm going to go over to my toolbox, and I'm going to search for a grid. And I'm going to take this grid and I'm going to drag it right here. And I want a grid right here as well. So I'm going to drag that grid here. And then over here, I want to use a chart. I'm going to use a shortcut. There's a shortcut called Control E, which brings up this little sort of dialog, which lets me search for components. So I want to put a category chart right here. So what I want to do is add a data source that will drive this screen. So I'm going to go over to my data sources tab, and I happen to have some stuff running here in with another .NET Core application, or actually, no, this is in the cloud. I have the Azure database. I've done a bunch of customizations to it, and I have it running in my Azure instance up in Microsoft Azure. So this is the endpoint, Northwind Cloud, Azure Websites, and we have a Swagger file. The way that App Builder works is we work with Swagger endpoints. So you could have any database in the world. You could have, ClickHouse, you could have Postgres, you could have SQL. It doesn't matter. Put an API in front of it with an open API definition, and we can consume that data. We can do get, post, put, delete, full CRUD. It doesn't matter. We can do it all. So, oops, wrong pages here. Let's go back to here. So I want to go ahead and add those endpoints to my data source, my data sources window. So I'm going to add a REST API. Let's call this Solutions Review. And we'll hit enter there. I'm going to do an open API. I'm going to add my URL. This is my URL, Azure Websites, Swagger. Click Save. And I'll go ahead and configure my endpoints. You can see I got a lot of endpoints here. And in this particular server, I don't have any put, posts, or deletes. They're all gets. So I'm going to do 3 gets here. I'm going to do customers. So in the top grid, I want the customers. Now, when I select customers, you can say, hey, 200, okay, worked great. Let me click View Details. Here's the data that's coming back from that get. Now, the next thing they want to do is I want to be able to pass a parameter or customer ID parameter to some other endpoints to get like a filtered piece of data or set of data for those customers. So I want the customer orders. So I'm going to check this box, and it says, hey, something went wrong. The reason is it's expecting a variable. I'm going to tell it to use elfkey. I know elfkey is a good variable. We'll send it, view details. I can see here I'm getting some orders back from elfkey. And then let's do customer order history. Let's do the same thing. elfkey, send it, and we are good to go. There's elfkey's customer order history. So that's good for a chart because it's not a ton of data. I don't have to do anything special. I'm just going to bind it right to my chart. I'm going to click select data, and here I have all the fields. They're already pre-selected. Life is good. All right, so what can I do now? I'm going to go ahead and select my grid. I'm going to go to the right-hand side, and on the data dropdown, I'm going to go down to Solutions Review. Whoops, I'm going to go down to Solutions Review. And what I want to populate this grid is with the customer's data. So this is the data. It's coming directly from Azure up in the cloud. I also want to change a couple things about this grid because my users are pretty demanding. They like lots of features. So they like to do things like grouping, column hiding, column moving, column pinning. They like to export data to Excel. They like to do row editing and row selection and all this other good stuff, maybe even advanced filtering. So with just the click of my mouse, I'm adding all of this capability to my grid. And you'll notice everything's rounded because I told it to use a rounded font. If I was using like Material Light, everything would be square. So all of that is flowing through into the application. Now, how am I going to tell, now that I've configured that part, how am I going to tell this grid and this chart to load the data that I select? So right now I had elfkey. How about Anton or Arut? Well, I can go down to the property editor here, and I can add a row selection changed interaction. And what do I want to do on a row selection change? I want to set a variable. So here I'm going to create a variable. This variable is going to be called customer ID. So let's go ahead and type in customer ID. It can be called whatever you want. It's really up to you. It's going to be a string variable, and it's going to be local to this page. That's all we're going to do. And I'm going to click create. So now, how am I going to set this new variable? I'm going to go to the value. I'm going to go to my selected rows here. Whoops. Well, let me go back to my grid, and let's add a property here for, well, I thought I did that. Let's see. Set variable, customer ID. Well, that's interesting. We will get to that in a second. Well, it magically picked customer ID. It should have given me something here with selected rows. So we'll see how this goes. Of course, live demos, this stuff always happens. But now this variable, how is that variable managed? How is it set? Well, on this page itself, if I go to the top level, which is my customers, you can see that I have properties here for this particular page. So if I select customer ID again, I'm back to that screen that I set the variable, and I can do things like change the data type or even set a default value. So in this case, I'm going to set this to ALFKey, and I'm going to click done. So now by default, ALFKey will be the variable set for these other components or these other controls. So I'm going to select this control. And what do I want to put here? Well, let's go ahead and change this to solutions review. And here I want to do customer orders. And again, this is going to be the using that ALFKey variable or the variable that I'm setting from this component here. So now that that is set, I can select its data property. And what should it be looking for? Well, it should be looking for this customer ID that's getting set when this grid is changing rows. And then we're going to do the same thing on the chart. I'm going to go over to data. Let's go down to solutions review, and let's do customer order history. And again, by default, it had the ALFKey variable in it. What variable do I want to use? I want to use customer ID, and we are good to go. So let's go back here, and I want to see why this guy is not. That's interesting. I don't know why that's not loading. Of course, I did this demo 1,000 times prior to this this example, and let's see what's going on here. So selected rows. That's really strange. Selected rows. Primary key is customer ID. Get solutions review API customers. Let's just do it again because I don't think that is going to give us some good luck here. Customer ID. Well, anyway, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, trust me, it works in real life. So I'm going to go ahead and hit run. And now what should happen, which I don't think it will, is as I select my orders here, and it's working for this guy, which I don't know why, it's actually passing variables across my page, and then it is updating them on the individual components. So as I select an item, it will then say, hey, this variable's updated. Go ahead and update the other components on the page. So as a developer, when you have to start thinking about the amount of code you need to write and how much work it is to not only build the app, style the app, make it look good, have the right branding, how do I do all the master detail and do all the validation and all the data entry? All of that is built in. So even in this case, as I double click on items, you can see that I have a data entry capability here. We'll change this to from London to Michigan, like so, and I hit enter, and that row is updated. So now if I had CRUD enabled, I could say, hey, automatically go and update that server and everything will work perfect. So super cool on how this works. And that's how you can pass variables back and forth. But how do I do this with something like Reveal? So let's go ahead and go to our report screen. And what I'm going to do on my report screen, I'm going to hit the delete key. I'm going to pick a different type of layout here. I want to use this guy, side pane plus content. I'm going to click done, and I'm going to add two controls here. The first one I want to add is a list control. So in my list control, I want to bind some data, some dashboards. And then on the right-hand side, this is where it gets really exciting, is if I do a Control E and I type reveal, you'll see that the reveal dashboard component shows up. So what this is doing is it's using a sample URL and a sample dashboard that I actually have up in the cloud. But what I want to do is load up this particular list control with items from the database. So how do I do that? Same way I did the grid. I change my component to be data bound. I go to my data sources. And in this case, I actually have a local reveal server running. So I can click dashboards. And now you can see that some items, it kind of looks like it's bound, but it's the same story. I'm going to have fields now that I can bind to. So I'm going to bind to the name field. I'm going to bind to the owner field. And then here, let's add, I can add a couple things here. I actually have two different images in my data source. I'm going to bind to the fake dashboard image URL like so. So I'm sort of mocking how this might work. Now, I want to add an interaction here. What's that interaction going to be? Of course, I could do navigate to, show hide. I want to set a variable. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing I just did. Let's do a variable of dashboard name. So in this case, we'll do dashboard name like so. And I want this to be a string. And I'll go ahead and create that. And whoops, let's go back here. And in my dashboard name, whoops, I'm clicking all over the place here. Sorry about that. There's my dashboard name variable. What do I actually want to set? Let's go to dashboards. I want to set the name. So now this is going to set the name of that dashboard. Now for my server, I actually have a different server than this Indigo design server that's running. So I'm going to show you real quick over here. I'm running this guy. Let's Reveal API. So yeah, I'm running this guy here called Reveal API, and this is up in Azure as well. So everything I'm doing here today is actually with live data in real life. So let me copy this. I'll minimize this. I'm going to paste this in like so. And then what I want to bind to is my dashboard name. So now you can see here, cannot find the dashboard of null, right? Because we didn't set a default on that particular dashboard. But now when I click CRM, you can see just like that, my CRM dashboard loads up. So if I click here, like let's say, for example, I don't know, sector analysis, I think this is a tree map that's going to show up. Marketing, this will be the marketing dashboard. So all of this is dynamically loading from the cloud, just like all of that code that I had showed you originally with Reveal. So how could we take this a step further? Well, what I did earlier is I took this exact application and I kind of tweaked it a little bit, added a little bit of styling, added a couple other screens, and I have that running here called inventory reporting. So you can see I've got a reports card view, a reports combo view. I did all of this inside of App Builder. So let's go ahead and run this. And there's one unique thing that I added here, and that is a dashboard component. So this here is a preview of all of the dashboards that are sitting up in the cloud. So for example, if I go to, let's say, let me scroll down, the retail dashboard, I'll click show. Now I'm in retail. What happens if I go to the overflow? Well, the same thing you saw earlier. I can go into edit mode. I can click this overflow. I can go to edit this particular visualization. Maybe in chart 2, I don't want sales. Maybe I want average units. So I can drag and drop that. And just like that, I'm updating my dashboard. I have a full self-service experience, and it's all without writing maybe more than a dozen lines of code. The other cool thing here, you can see on my tooltip, I've got my filters, I've got my drill downs, I got everything that your end users need to deliver or to interact with data to make those in-context decisions that they need to do their job. And then I added another screen here simply called reports. It's the same concept. I just did a little drop down, and if I go to inventory, it's just going to select inventory, but all the capabilities are there. All my filters, all my drill up, all my drill down, all of the data analysis that I want to do to my end users. And at the same time, maybe they want to do a little bit extra. They could do something like export this to Excel, export it to PowerPoint, export to PDF, whatever they want to do. So that is a sort of a really fire hose example of some of the things that you can do with App Builder, with Reveal. You'll notice that to build out an interactive application with App Builder and with Reveal, I didn't have to write any code. Everything was click, drag and drop, set properties, run, generate code. Again, if you want to generate code, you can push it right into your own CI/CD in GitHub with GitHub Actions, or you could download a zip. Maybe you don't want a whole application, maybe you just want a screen. You can just do copy paste on an individual screen. But the beautiful thing is combining these two technologies to enable beautiful experiences for your customers. And I think that's probably where we'll end up here. If I bring up my last slide, when you think about the amount of work that it goes into building a real enterprise application that's going to last, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, it's pretty significant. So how can you short circuit any aspect of that build? How can you get more ROI out of your dev teams? How can you build these better, more beautiful user experiences? That's where companies like Infragistics come into play. So with Reveal, with App Builder, you can deliver next level experiences. You can deliver embedded BI. You saw there like almost no code to deliver an embedded BI experience. And really, you can clear out your backlog faster by delivering these applications 10 times faster than you ever would on your own. So, with that, Doug, I think we will wrap it up and pass it back to home base.
Well, there's a lot going on, and I want to catch up on some of the things that we just saw, but I'm curious about where you're finding traction within an organization for folks who are gravitating toward this type of solution. I mean, you showed how easy it is, and you showed not only that, but that it can also start to be almost a design decision around it with design aesthetics, which I think starts to bring in potentially other elements within an organization who may want to talk about not only how to get the data in there, but how to present the data to the end users. Talk a little bit about the team that you're seeing in these kind of implementation calls and ultimately who end up in kind of the user experience.
Yeah, the cool thing is the way we decided years ago, this is going like 2017, 2016, to build out our core components was with a design system. So that design system drives and informs everything that we build today, which means that we have UI kits that designers can use in Figma or in Sketch to build out applications that will map directly to our components. So when we think about, App Builder being able to pull in a Figma design and then generating code, there's a lot of magic that happens there. But ultimately, they're using a design system that is purpose built to deliver those experiences. So we see traction in digital product teams. They have designers, they have developers, they have architects. It runs the gamut. I would say like the majority of folks attracted to tools like App Builder are those development teams. But if a dev team has that level of maturity and they have designers love App Builder because they know whatever they design with the UI kits, with the design system, will turn out to be code and not just wasted design effort where the devs try to duplicate what was built by the designer.
Well, and I want to get to some questions, but before I do that, I also want to just talk a little bit about the other elements that you have available as support. I know on your website you've got a very impressive support and basically an information collection. Talk a little bit about what's available for support for folks who are using Infragistics.
Yeah, a lot of questions are, do you have training? We have tons of videos on YouTube. If you want to learn how to use any of our products, there's a Reveal BI YouTube channel, there's an App Builder channel, there's an Infragistics channel. So from a learning perspective, there's a lot of capabilities in documentation, playgrounds, sample apps, GitHub repos, and of course, everything that's video training. Reveal, we're actually releasing a learning management system for Reveal very soon. So it's like a step-by-step training sort of thing. But one of the coolest things that we offer beyond the traditional, chat or phone support or forums or email is Discord. So we have a huge community on Discord for Infragistics and for Reveal and for App Builder and all of the UI controls, where customers are asking questions, chatting with each other, and chatting directly with the product team to solve their problems. So Discord's really been slick for us. And if you haven't joined the Infragistics Discord channels, all the channel information's up on our website, and you're talking to the product team, the people that actually build the product. So it's pretty slick.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. The the advantage of working with a company that's been around for a few decades is that there's a lot of information that's been accumulated and sorted and presented neatly. The other thing I just want to get to real quick is how people can begin straight away. I know you've got a free trials and downloads section on the site. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the best thing to do is go to infragistics.com, and there's buttons everywhere. Free trial, sign up now. If you go to our main menu and you're just like, hey, I want to focus on Angular, click the Angular page and you could jump right into Angular, get the free trial, get the instructions for how to get that going on your local dev machine. App Builder is beautiful because you go to the App Builder page, you click sign in, and you're right into the experience that I showed you today. So there's no like installation. You don't have to worry about anything. You can start building apps today. Or what I recommend is you open up just one of those sample templates that I showed you, like I did, and generate the code, download it, or maybe add your own data to it and then see how that looks. Because getting started with a tool like App Builder is so easy, and you get that instant gratification that, wow, this is something that I can probably do, and I can take our company data or our app data and then start to experiment of how it might lay out in different screens and different components, and then show your manager or show your coworkers and say, hey, what do you guys think about this? This only took me 5 minutes to do. And so that's the beautiful thing about a tool like App Builder.
Yeah, and again, one of the things that we love most about talking to folks like Jason is we get these deep dive demos, which I'm sure go way deeper when you want to get even more information. But ultimately, what we suggest is to reach out and start connecting and engaging, so you can really find out very specifically with your situation how you might be able to take advantage of what's available in Infragistics. I have a question that we always seem to get, which I'm going to fire at you. Can you explain the difference in the licensing of Reveal and App Builder?
Yep.
So let's get right down to brass tacks.
It always comes up. So they're separate products, and what we're trying to do is promote the vision of how easy it is for you to use these products. So the App Builder product is licensed like per developer. So if you're a team of 10 devs, you would buy 10 app builders because you have all the components, you're all logging in separately. That's how you would acquire the product. Reveal is licensed per application. So you have your, application that you ship to your customers, or maybe that's used internally. You would just buy one Reveal license, and you have full access to the server libraries, the client libraries, all the docs, everything that you need to get going. Everything is a subscription. So it is a yearly price. You pay the same price every year. It's just a subscription. And as long as you're renewing that subscription on App Builder, you're always getting the updates. And for Reveal, if you're not renewing the subscription, the application basically stops working. So that's kind of like every other SaaS-based tool. The licensing is similar, but the big distinction is a per application license for Reveal versus a per developer or per designer license for App Builder.
Yeah, so actually another question that would be a follow-on to that. Can I run App Builder locally and not on the web?
Yeah, we get this a lot, actually. It's a great question. We have an on-prem version of App Builder. So we run into customers and enterprises that are like super secure, nothing in the cloud, all that stuff, right? So we have an on-prem version. We give you a Docker container, you deploy it internally, you manage users internally. So that's something you could contact us about too. You can't really download that off the website. So you would contact us, and we would go through that proof of concept with you and ensure that that's going to fit your needs. So you have both options, SaaS-based or on-prem. And of course, Reveal is always on-prem. There is no SaaS version. It's in your app, which is great.
Yeah, so again, with regard to questions that we're getting, folks are curious about their specific situation. This one, does Reveal support Snowflake or Redshift?
Yes, another good question. So Snowflake, super popular. AWS has a bunch of great different data sources or database types, just like Azure. There's a gazillion things up there. So we have about 30, 35 data sources that we support. Snowflake, Redshift, absolutely. All of your SQL-based data sources. And then you have things like Marketo, HubSpot, Google Analytics. We support all of those data sources. And then ultimately, if there's something that we don't support, almost everything gives you a REST endpoint. We fully support REST. So you can do, pretty much any data source with that.
And is there a list of data sources that people can get a hold of?
Yes, at revealbi.io, we have a beautiful list of all the data sources and all the docs on how you might use them. So that is right at revealbi.io, which happens to be on the screen right now.
All right. So we have a few more minutes left. I'm curious about kind of how people come up to speed and kind of the timeline for this kind of consideration cycle as they think about it. Maybe download the trial, start to engage with some sales folks. I mean, what does that process look like in terms of proofs of concept and so forth, and then maybe a little bit about the timing?
Yep, that's another good question because they're very different. So when you think about something like App Builder, it's developers will make decisions very quickly. Is this useful to me or not? And then within 5 minutes, they're going to say, yeah, let's kind of give this a little bit of, actually within 1 minute, let's give this a little bit more time, or no, I'm looking for a specific use case and this doesn't hit it. So App Builder, the time can be very quick for you to make a decision. We have a 30-day trial, and most people don't take 30 days. Most people very quickly realize the value and are like, yep, let me move this up the chain and talk to my manager, figure out licensing cost, etc. And of course, we do all the pre-sales. You want a deep dive, questions, all that good stuff. We have global sales team for that. And then for Reveal, it's a little bit different. Reveal's a little more hands-on because we're dealing with a lot of moving parts. You're dealing with servers and different data sources and security and different client technologies. We really recommend a managed POC with Reveal. So we will work with your team very closely. You might have a dedicated person that's going to work with us it could be as little as a week. It could take a month, right? The average time is about 2 to 3 weeks to go from, hey, here's our top success criteria. Can we prove this out in a POC and then make a purchase decision? And we do that hand holding. So we'll do weekly meetings. We have a whole schedule where we try to align resources and timelines. So Reveal's a little bit different than App Builder, but both of them, within a month, you're pretty much making a decision. You have a proof of concept built. And then we have customers with Reveal. I mean, we just worked with a customer on the US sales team where they were done within like 5 days. I mean, they were deployed. So they did all the work and they had dashboards deployed to their customers and they had a press release out within 5 days. So it shows you that if you're dedicated, you have your vision set, you know what you want, it can go pretty quick with Reveal too. But it's anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks to complete that POC.
So talk about a little bit about how you see folks planning for this sort of engagement. So what should they be thinking about? I mean, in advance of kind of reaching out and engaging, and obviously, what should they kind of have their ducks in a row about? The data sources or design elements or end users they're trying to service. I mean, what should they be bringing to that first engagement?
This is again a great question. We if we let's say we have 100 prospects in a week, 50 of them have not gone through what you just mentioned, Doug. They haven't thought about, okay, what is this really going to take? They know they want self-service BI. They know they want dashboards. They want this sort of modern reporting experience for their users. They want the beautiful, self-serve drag and drop. But then they're like, okay, what about our back end? What about our data? Is that even in a position to enable even our own people to create dashboard templates to deliver in our application. So having your data story understood, in the right shape, queries built, the security infrastructure implemented, all that's super important. And that's always what slows down a POC. It's never about like, I need this feature in the chart. It's always about the customer having to work through, making sure their data is prepared and in a way to be consumed by internal folks or even self-service at their customers. So that's something that we can also help you with. And even if a POC lasts 6 months, that's fine. We can help you understand what you need to do to get your data set and how it should work within the products.
Yeah, Jason, this has been great. Congratulations on all you've built here and all the fine work you're doing at Infragistics. We love these sorts of presentations, and again, we would encourage everybody to go visit infragistics.com, reach out and engage, and really see what Jason's put on the table here, because it's pretty impressive. So best of luck for the rest of this year and into 2024.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Doug. Thank you.
You bet. Well, there you have it. Another solution in our spotlight. We want to thank Infragistics and Jason for that fine presentation, and we appreciate your participation as well. Until next time, I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review. Thanks for watching.